hello, and welcome into Bear With Us on the Bear Claw Media podcast feed. And it's a big episode this morning. We've got a literal bear with us, Northern Colorado men's basketball player Langston Reynolds. Langston, how you doing?
I'm doing good, as good as I can be. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Really appreciate you hopping on this morning.
Yeah.
So UNC this year, 21-8, 13-3, Big Sky. Yourself, you're about 17.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists.
Yeah.
What's different this year from years past?
I would just say from a team aspect, we have a much older team, a very more mature team, guys that have played a lot of minutes at here or at different schools. So we kind of have that experience, and I feel like we just don't panic. Like we just know like what it's going to take to win. And I think for me personally, just the mental side of everything, just, actually growing as a player mentally and physically, obviously, but just taking that next step and just knowing how good I can actually be.
Okay, so yeah, how, it's pretty obvious from like watching you the past few years, but like how has your game grown? Like what is the most different about you as a player from your freshman year to now?
Most different. I would say my confidence just in myself. I think for me, it was more just I always knew that I could obviously score and guard somebody, and obviously, everything in between. But I think for me, it was just actually seeing it for myself and just, saying that I could actually be the best player in this league, be one of the best players, just in the country in general. I think just for me, just putting it all together just really made sense.
Okay. So bear with me. This is probably going to be a pretty long intro, but I swear there's a
You're good.
point coming here. So
Yeah.
kind of on that note, coming into the year, I saw like you, Zach, Brock, and Jaron were kind of like a core four, and I
Yeah.
didn't really know who was kind of going to separate themselves there.
Hmm.
Also knew like Isaiah and Tayshad and Quinn coming in, but
Yeah.
especially Quinn maybe more so, but the other two, it's so tough to tell from like a fan perspective.
Yeah.
And honestly, Marcel didn't even really like factor into my idea of like how the team came together until I was chatting with Colin
Yeah.
earlier before the season. But so kind of with all that, it felt like early on, I don't know if it was Smiley or the whole coaching staff, they felt like they kind of empowered you to like be the guy. Did
Hmm.
that is that kind of correct, or do you think it just kind of happened that way, kind of organically, or?
I would say a little bit of both. I would say my last two games of my sophomore year, I just kind of showed that I could be a all league guy, especially in this league, and just kind of be consistent. I think that was just the biggest thing that they kind of pushed me to be just consistent and be an all day guy. And, I did that June 1st, like as soon as we got here, and it just kind of just paid off, honestly. But I mean, the core four, I like that. That's different. But yeah, I mean, we all knew we were going to come back. Like we had a real conversation. And then even, like you said, Marcel didn't really play a lot last year, but we still saw him as a guy that could really come in and impact and, come back and have a huge impact just for the team in general. Because, he knows the system. He can score at all three levels. I mean, he's funny. He can guard. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just fit together. So I think with that, we just kind of brought in Marcel as well. I mean, obviously now it's just the core five. He knows the system. He's obviously, or he could be a six starter. As like we said before, we have seven starters, and he was one of those guys. So I think for us, it was just more just having that many people come back was just a huge blessing, especially the way the game's going nowadays.
Okay, I've
Yeah,
heard Coach Smiley kind of talk that the system's tough for players coming in to really grasp their first year. Is
yeah.
so? Do you think is kind of with what you guys do? Is it even more important when you have five guys coming back that have spent? Even if Marcel wasn't like playing a ton, he was working every day in practice, learning all the intricacies and everything.
Yeah, I think that's a big part. Like, it's hard to play here, at the end of the day. I mean, not everybody can do it. Not everybody is able to adapt as quick as, as we would like. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what winners do. I mean, they learn how to adapt. They learn a new playbook. They learn, just everything it takes to win. And here, that's kind of what we teach. We do have a very large playbook. I don't know if everybody could see that yet, but we do. So I think, that's just another big piece of it. I mean, even at the pros, you probably have a huge playbook. There's new terminology, and that's just kind of what we live and kind of live by. That's kind of how it is here.
Nice. So what drew you to UNC originally? I saw. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you had offers from Missouri and NAU.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you weren't going to Northern Arizona,
No.
but what made UNC kind of stick out? Because like seriously, from what I understand, UNC is not like even with some other big sky schools, we don't have the most money. Like it's not necessarily the biggest, the brightest. So what did
Mhm.
you connect with like any specific coach or was what kind of brought you up this way?
I would say honestly, the whole coaching staff really just kind of brought me in, and especially when I came on my visit. It was big for me. I felt the love right away. Coach Reed, Coach Smiley, Coach DG. I mean, CG. At the time, it was Coach Corey. But yeah, I mean, they all just kind of brought me in and just told me the truth. Just what I need to get better at. They didn't bring me here to try to sell me and tell me I'm going to be the greatest bear ever. They told me the truth and what I needed to hear. And I think that's what really drew me to them. And honestly, and being close to home obviously was a plus. But I think for me, it was just a truth telling that they gave me.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And so, how does the dynamic of the coaching staff work? Because from the outside, like I love all the coaches that I've met and interacted with, but
Yeah.
so Smiley seems kind of like the politician in the best way, like coming
Yeah.
as the former AD, he's great with
Mm,
media and all like the social media and that stuff. Um, Dorian Green, I don't really know much about him, but he seems more serious, especially compared to Houston Reed, who feels like a huge just jokester, but
yeah.
also like commands a level of respect just kind of by who he is.
Yeah.
Clopeful seems a little more reserved, but
Mm,
I hear he does situational things, and it seems like you guys are like nails on that typically.
yeah.
And then I actually graduated from UNC with Colin, so we had some classes together.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, Don Drail's the player development guy. So how do all those personalities kind of fit together? And I honestly may have been wrong in some of my assessments too, but it seems
No,
like
I
the
mean,
coaching they work together really well.
they do. I think, like I said, it goes back to the truth telling piece. Like they're all very honest. They all have one thing in common. That's they're not going to sugarcoat anything. They're going to tell us what we're good at, what we're terrible at, and then we go work on it. Honestly, I mean that's what DC's role is. He works everybody out. He always has a schedule. He's always in the gym with somebody. He's always like, "Hey, I know you're tired, but let's go get some free throws. Let's go get some shots in." The little things, and then Coach Cloak, like you said, he's situational guy. I mean, we watch situations every Monday, so I mean, even just learning from other teams, not even just NBA teams, like other college teams, just what not to do. And then CG, man, he's the most positive person I think I've ever met in my life. I mean, anything could be happening in the world that's just terrible, and then he could just come in with a big smile on his face and makes everything better. And then Reed, like you said, jokester, but he's also when he gets to it, like he's a very serious person. I mean, he's honest, like extremely honest. He does a lot of defensive things, and then DG. I mean, he's serious, but I mean, honestly, he's a basketball guy. Like he's always talking about basketball. He's always talking about how to get better. He's always, keeping us at a high standard because that's what it's going to take for us to win it all the way. So I think at the end of the day, they're all winners. They all are truth tellers. They're all not. They're not here to sell a dream. They're not here to, lie to you. They're here to win championships and bring a family together. At the end of the day,
Nice. How
yeah.
how like important is that consistency? Because I think it was the exact same staff last year. Am I crazy? And then basically the same staff from your freshman year.
Yeah, yeah. Just one change, but I mean, it starts with Smiley. I mean, he's picking an amazing staff. He's keeping them all together. They all trust him. He has trust in his staff. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just who's personable and who's not. I mean, he's very honest. He's very straightforward about what he needs to get done, and then the staff responds. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. So when you I'm jumping around a bit, so I apologize, but
No, you're fine. Yeah,
but
you're fine.
coming up to Greeley, from Denver, I imagine there's a reputation. Even I came from like a literal cow town of like 1,200 people, so
Yeah.
and I still like heard like Greeley's just it's a cow town. It stinks. Like what
Hmm.
since you got here, like honestly, what do you think of the city or the town and kind of how is it different from maybe what you were anticipating when you came up here the first time?
I would say it's extremely different. Like you said, I'm from the city, so like I'm used to waiting in traffic, and I mean everything's busy. Everybody's in line for something. Everybody's on the move. So I say for me, when I got here, it was very slow. It was very quiet. And for me, I think that was the difference. Like it was good. I mean, there wasn't a lot of distractions, obviously, like there was back home. And obviously, there's a reputation. I mean, Greeley. I mean, you're in Northern Colorado. I mean, the only thing here is Northern Colorado. So at the end of the day, you do have a reputation to win and hold yourself to a higher standard. So I think for me, coming here was definitely a culture change, I would say. But it really helped me just to adapt and, learn a different culture and learn what it's like to actually be peaceful and spend more time, with your guys and only be in the gym, not have to really worry about anything else. I think that's just a really big piece that I learned.
Okay. So I
Hmm.
imagine that depending on who you are, that could be a big positive or a big negative. Either it kind of forces you to focus just on basketball, or you're kind of stir crazy after the
Yeah,
first year.
yeah. It just depends on just what you value. I mean, I value being in the gym. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what's gotten me here. I mean, it's just what's gonna keep me here at the end of the day. Yeah.
Great answer. Great answer.
Mm.
So on this team, is there anybody that makes you just kind of say wow from time to time? Because I imagine if you ask just about anybody else, the answer would be you with your athleticism and some of the things you can do physically. But
Yeah,
whether it's like Jaron with some of the really heady, like not tricky stuff, but things like that he does, and then
yeah,
just I mean Isaiah makes everything look so easy when he has the ball in his hands.
yeah. I mean, for me, I think everybody does something obviously different. That's what kind of makes them unique. I mean, I'm kind of wowed by just everybody. I mean, everybody does something different. Like I said, I mean, I've been seeing it since June 1st. Some guys I've been seeing it since high school. So I think for me, man, just playing with these guys, just seeing them like just develop and get better at things that nobody even realizes is just a big part for me. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna have to say Zay because new guy. I mean, he's here and he's older, but I think for me, it's just he never gets sped up. Like it's his pace is always the same. It's a great pace. It doesn't matter how fast the game is, how slow the game is. It's like Zay is always in control, if that makes sense. Like he's always calm no matter what. He's always calm.
No, that makes a ton of sense because I think
Yeah,
you told Ann he's a nonchalant bucket,
he
and
is.
I think
Yeah.
that's perfect. I've been misquoting that since because I love it, but I always just get it like a little bit wrong.
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems like he's almost in slow motion a lot of the time, but it
Yes.
never really he never fails to get to his spots or get his shot off. I
No.
imagine being 6'8" in the big sky and like able to shoot and do the things he does helps a little bit.
Yeah, it's God given, but it's also the hard work he's put in. I mean, me and Zay probably work out every day. I mean, so we just worked out yesterday together. So I mean, yeah, it's just kind of how it is. Like I see it firsthand. I mean, I've had to guard it, so I know how difficult it is. So I mean, yeah, but it's definitely fun to watch for sure.
Nice. You
Yeah,
kind of talking about guarding. I feel like you've ended up with a wide range of defensive assignments. We could say because I'm blanking on some names. The Dylan Darling, I think you ended up on him for a good chunk of the Idaho State one, at least one of those Idaho State games. And then
yeah,
there, were you on Brandon Walker against Montana State for a good? So
yeah.
who's been like the hardest to guard or the weirdest? Anybody giving you just like weird challenges that because it's at like 6'4",
Yeah,
you're really athletic, but you're not
yeah. I'm not
necessarily
that tall.
yeah.
Yeah,
and not that girthy as Brandon Walker is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh man, that's a hard question because we've played a lot of really good guys, and like you said, I've guarded, man, a lot of them. I would say for me to at least be able to go, it has to be Brandon Walker. Especially because, like you said, he's very wide. He can move really well. He uses his body like great. So I think for me, I mean, I always thought he was a first team guy. So I think for me, just him being able to score with both shoulders, both hands, and just be able to move. I mean, for me, that's just always the most difficult. But yeah, a lot of guys just aren't really built like him in a way. Yeah.
I feel like that's part of what I love about college basketball is because really like the NBA, yeah, the skill is there, but you're not going to get a 6'7" just bowling ball they're
Uh,
going to toss it to him in the post like every possession when he's in.
it's definitely the most difficult thing, especially when you're trying to deny him the ball back and he has you sealed, and you just it's difficult. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
what position are you on? Like, I couldn't think of much of a transition, but 6'3", like I used to think of you more as like a three, kind of a wing over the past couple years. But
Yeah.
honestly, you kind of run point a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like positions are kind of meaningless at this point. But
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd say I'm just a basketball player. But like you said, I mean, I've played every position this year, even the five at some times. So I think for me, it's just being versatile. I mean, at some point, I'm gonna have to kind of declare what I am, and just I would say just a combo guard. I mean, I don't really care about the name. I just know that you can kind of put me anywhere, and I'll just be able to play that position like you need me to. Uh,
okay, are you much of an NBA guy or just a little bit?
uh, somewhat, yeah. I mean, I think college for me is just the biggest and the realest piece of
Well,
basketball
I
in my
mean
life.
more so. Are you like a? Do you follow the NBA? Like, are you
Oh,
a big fan? Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, and
No,
no, you
yeah,
are an NBA guy, Langston. Don't keep
yeah,
that
yeah,
humble out of here.
yeah. Yeah. My favorite player is probably Jimmy Butler or Drew Holiday, one of the two.
Ooh, I
So
like.
when he went to the Warriors, I knew he was gonna be winning, and they were gonna be winning. But nobody else believed. I believed. I believed. So, but yeah, probably those two guys. Yeah.
I like the Drew Holiday. That's not a super like common pull. I feel. But
Yeah.
did you? Are there anybody? I'll ask it in two kind of ways. Was there anyone you molded your game after, kind of when you were growing up, and then looking at today's NBA, do you have who's like a comp that you think kind of plays similar to how you do?
I would say, growing up, I mean, I not really so much. I just knew that I wasn't the typical type of player. Like I think at a young age, I kind of realized like I'm not always looking to shoot first, kind of like how a lot of guys are. I think I like to catch the ball and just kind of think for a second and just kind of go with the flow of the game. So growing up, not so much, but I mean now player comp. Ah, man, I've heard some crazy things. I've heard like Jaden Ivey, all that type of thing. But honestly, I think for me, the obvious one would be Russ. Um, he's he does everything. I mean, he doesn't really have to be great at shooting the ball just to be a great NBA player. So I think for me, that's kind of what it is Russ. I mean, obviously the Drew Holiday, just his defensive way, like the way he plays defensively. But I would say overall, probably Russell. Yeah.
Okay, that works even better now that he's with the Nuggets.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. Uh-huh.
So, so you talked about it, or I think you just briefly touched on it, but you
Mhm.
have played with a couple of these guys since high school, or at least prep, right? I'm not
Yeah.
super
Hmm.
familiar with how kind of the prep scene works, but so
Yeah.
you, Brock, Zach, and now Egan, but I don't know how much crossover there was there. All
Yeah.
went to
Egan's a little younger, so I mean, we didn't play with him, but we were there, like watching him play in a way. Yeah. Hmm.
okay. So I guess first off, how does that work? Did you go to like? did you go to East or a Denver high
Yeah.
school, and then after your senior year, do you play like a year of prep ball just to kind of get a little
Nah.
bit? How does it work? Or do you play prep ball as you're in high school too, or?
So for me, it was kind of a different situation because obviously there's a lot of prep schools that have been around for a long time, like the Montverts and IMGs. But for my prep school, my first year at prep school was my junior year. So I did 2 years at Denver East, and then I transferred. It was also around the time of like COVID and everything, so I kind of had to make a decision. But I chose to go to Colorado Prep, which was at the time the first year that it had ever been
Oh,
created.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the first prep school in Colorado. So for me, it was taking a leap of faith and just believing in the coach and the owner, which Xavier Silas. But for me, it was just taking a leap and just kind of putting my career in his hands in a way. And then my junior year, I had a really good year, and I decided I wanted to go back and stay at Colorado Prep. I just felt like it was going to get me the most ready for college and, be the most realistic because, you're not always going to be at home and be in class. And it's just the most realistic for me. You're always going to have a couple games on the road. You're going to have to take classes on the road. That's just kind of what they, simulated for us my 2 years there. And I honestly, in a way, I wish I went longer just to, have even more of an experience. And just that transition my senior year to Northern Colorado it was honestly the most easy transition I've ever had just because I had already been doing it for the past 2 years.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're playing, if you're the only prep school in Colorado, I assume you're traveling out of state a lot to play others. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of like a mini college experience the way, is there like a Colorado prep campus, or is it completely online and then the basketball
Uh,
team like practices, or like how does that work?
so at the time, when I was there, it was more just straight online. We just went through online school. But I think now they're kind of trying to merge with the school, obviously, to, get still have the high school experience, still going to class, seeing other people and stuff like that. But for me, it was more just online and then taking it on the road and having study halls on the road. We would go from anywhere from Arizona all the way to New Orleans. Like it was just anywhere. Every week, play maybe 60 games in one season. So
Oh
it was
wow.
more just you would be everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. So
Hmm.
so then did Zach is a year older than you, right? If I'm doing
Yeah.
so, did he join that first year as well, his senior year?
Yeah, so my junior year was his senior year. Yeah, so it was the first year for him. Like he took a leap of faith, and then maybe a couple months later, then Brock joined, and then it was kind of like, okay, like now we got something. Like now we can actually go win games, and we have two good Colorado guys, and we have some other great guys from out of state that are really just going to help us win. And then Zach was the first one to sign with Northern Colorado, which obviously it paid off. We have really good relationships with now, but yeah, he was the first one that kind of started off.
Okay. So was that I I'm sure it's probably, I mean, maybe it was, but it's usually probably not as simple as like sitting down and saying, okay, we're all going to UNC. But
No, yeah.
but after he commits, what I mean, was UNC even on your radar as much, and or was it just kind of like after he committed, you're like, okay, and maybe he's like, I like what this coaching staff's doing,
Mhm.
um, and I guess how big of a part, like you alluded to it, but how big of a part of you and Brock coming was because he had already kind of paved the way. That sounds weird to say, but
No, I mean, no, like you said, it's somewhat like that. Like he paved the way. I mean, me and Brock would obviously our senior year just go come hang out with Zach. He was closer. I mean, he wasn't all the way in Kansas, so and we had a great relationship. So I think for us, it was like, okay, like Zach's loving it here. The coaches are treating him well. He's not telling us anything bad, which, a lot of times you don't hear that. Like they're just, like I said in the beginning, they're truth telling him. Like they're telling him the truth and what he needs to get better at. And, they're not really beating around the bush. So I think for us, well, at least for me, I can't really speak on Brock, but for me, it was more just, okay, like, yeah, you guys are recruiting me. They've been recruiting me since the beginning of my junior year. They were one of the first people to, call like on that official day in June. So I think for me, it was more just kind of just a stepping stone. Like, okay, like now somebody I know that goes there, that I have a really good relationship with, is vouching for you, and they're telling me all these great things about you, and I'm like, okay, now I really have to take an interest, and just like they were in me. So I think it was just kind of mutual. And at the end of the day, I went on my visits. I just felt like this was the place for me.
Okay, nice. What
Yeah,
was because even in my like I played like small town 2A high school basketball, but
yeah,
like your friends that you play with, you're like, man, if we could make like a sick team in college. When
yeah,
in your world it was actually a reality. Was that ever
yeah,
like a even if it wasn't super talked about, was that ever like a we're like the even the three of like we're good. Like and
yeah,
we're better than just like this league. We can like
yeah.
go beyond.
I mean, yeah, obviously, we're human. I mean, we're gonna have those type of conversations, things like that. But I think for us, it was just more about, obviously we would love to play together. I mean, God, I mean, it would just change. It would change everything. Like it would just be easy. And I think for us, it was more just, yes, I would love you here, or yes, we all want to play together. But if you don't, then it's okay. Like we know you're gonna pick what's best for you, and you're just gonna kind of do what you think is best for your career, and we're going to support you regardless. But if you want to, make some history, then we can do that. So I think it was a little bit of both. Yeah,
Okay. I mean, kind of on one of the best seasons in school history. It feels like it's kind of lived up to, I imagine, what you were expecting.
yeah. No, man, it's kind of exceeding my expectations. Honestly, I mean, I didn't realize we were breaking so many school records and everything like that. But yeah, it's great. I mean, definitely the best decision I've made. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. I knew you guys had been hovering around like top field goal percentage in the country all year, but there's been a lot of graphics going around Twitter lately, which I
Yeah.
always anytime I can see a Bears logo next to like a Gonzaga logo or anything
Mm.
else, that always makes me smile.
Yeah, no, that surprised me too. I like I said, like I didn't even know that either. So just learning something new every day. I mean, is just kind of cool. It's just all the great stuff that we're doing with the team.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I know where UNC's at, both kind of the pro, like in the greater hierarchy and also kind of the trajectory.
Hmm.
Um, but like, where you may not have a great answer, but where does UNC and the Big Sky as a whole stack up against the rest of college basketball? My
Okay.
in the way I'm thinking of it is like DeJour Reeves last year. You don't have to speak to him directly, but he left
Hmm.
for what was it, Iona, I believe.
It
And
was,
like
yeah,
in theory, the MAAC is like not quite as good when you look at like Ken Palm and those rankings.
yeah.
But and I know he was like a back home. He was like from back east, but can
Hmm.
are like I don't even know what I'm asking, but like maybe those schools have more money they can offer in NIL than out here. Maybe the travel is better for those schools. Like where
Hmm.
does kind of UNC and the Big Sky fall in all of that? Like
I would say, everybody wants something different. I mean, kind of like you said, every school has something different to offer. It's just kind of what you're looking for, and I think for us, we love winning. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody's gonna go somewhere that wins, no matter the NIL, the how far it is. Everybody wants to be a part of winning. So I think for us, I think we think that we've been the best team in the Big Sky for the past couple of years, especially this year. So I think in the Big Sky, we've had NBA guys. I mean, Dylan Jones, first round pick, Weber, they're always great. Damian, all the way going back to Damian Lillard. I think just for speaking for the Big Sky, I think we're definitely one of the best mid-major conferences in the country, if not the best. Just because we produce. I mean, we win a lot of games. We upset people all the time. Nobody really talks about, like, it's just one of those things that it's comes with being underlooked, and just kind of being the underdog, which is fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, Big Sky in Northern Colorado would kind of go toe to toe, I think, with anybody in the country. But we can't really determine that. We can't play everybody, like you said. It's just kind of how it is. We're just playing our schedule. I mean, yeah.
I like that answer a lot. As an alum, I really like that answer.
Yeah, it's just that's just honesty. Yeah,
It's funny because I hear a lot of like NIL and the transfer portals like killing the Damian Lillards. Like Weber
yeah,
State's never gonna like. There's no way that can happen again when literally it happened last year with a Big Sky
yeah,
player going first round. So
hmm
it seems definitely possible. Uh,
yeah, uh,
and then so kind of looking. I don't. I assume what's the mindset heading down the stretch? I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty because I don't want to. I'm honestly afraid of jinxing anything. But
no, yeah, no, I'm the same way. I don't really like speaking into existence, but sometimes I feel like you kind of have to, just to get that confidence and everything like that. But I think obviously it's just to win out. I don't really want to say why, but at the end of the day, it's kind of we just got to worry about ourselves. I mean, these next two games, some people would say, obviously statistically that it should be easy, but they're not. I think the next two games are going to be senior nights, maybe. I'm not sure, but at the end of the day, we're going into two hostile environments with two great teams that have the ability to beat us. And I think at the end of the day, if we come with our mind right, we're going to win out and we're going to get the best seed possible for Boise. And obviously, we just got to take care of business there and just take one game at a time. Yeah.
so then, is there kind of wrapping up here? I have a couple more, but is there anyone on the roster this year that maybe isn't getting a ton of run, or even like a Tayshot who's in a limited role as opposed to what he's done before?
Yeah.
Or is there anybody that maybe we should keep an eye out for next year that like a casual fan might not even really know their name?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, we can go all the way down to the red shirts. I mean, I think our freshmen are amazing. I think they all have the ability to even play right now, if I'm being honest with you. I think if they were at another school in the Big Sky, they would be playing right now and producing at a very high level. But they chose to come here because we like to win and they know what it takes to win. So I would say, obviously, like, oh man, there's so many guys. I mean, you know me, I'm kind of biased. I'd say like my whole team, but um, I would say obviously just keep looking out for Tayshot. Tayshot, he's a walking double double. At the end of the day, he rebounds, he can score, he can shoot it. He's aggressive. Like you said, he's kind of in a limited role at the end of the day, but he knows what it takes to win, and he's okay, and he's accepted it for what it is, and he hasn't complained. Every time he steps on the floor, he's positive. I mean, it's easy at the end of the day. But I would also say William Humer. I mean, he's transferred from San Jose, one of the best conferences in the country at the end of the day, and he's coming here and he's a limited role as well. I mean, that's just kind of how things go, and he's mature. He understands that, but when his number's called, he's going to be ready, no matter when it is or how late it is in the season. He's going to be ready to play. At the end of the day, I think that's just kind of speaks volumes to their characters and just how we are as a team.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you touched on not individually, but a couple of the red shirts, couple freshmen. You
yeah,
gonna get a chance to play with them next year?
yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I see him every day. I mean, goodness. I mean, we work out every day. I mean, they're best scout team in the country. Best scout team in the country. But yeah, I mean they're great people. I mean a lot of them, two of them. I think one of them's Colorado. Yeah, Hunt. But yeah, I mean they all bring something different, but they all bring winning at the end of the day.
Okay, and
Yeah.
feel free. This is always a weird one, but
Hmm.
basically, especially beginning of the year, everybody you looked at, it was Dalton Connect, St. Thomas,
Hmm.
Langston, Reynolds. They already have you penciled in as transferring out at the end of the year.
Hmm.
Anything you want to say on your plans for next year and moving forward?
Uh, I think for me, if I this is how I look at it. This is kind of how I feel about it. If I can't be present now and do as much winning as I can now and just keep doing what I'm doing now, I can't even make that decision in the future. I would feel like I'm not very present, and that's not really fair to my teammates and the staff here. It's just not. That's just not kind of how I am. I mean, I like to stay present. At the end of the day, I've been here for 3 years. I want to win, and that's just kind of what I'm going to worry about right now, and just kind of worry about everything else after.
Okay, great answer to a question with no good answers. So sorry to put you in that spot, but I had to ask.
You're fine. No, you're fine. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to say? We had, like you mentioned, what is it? Northern Arizona Saturday, at Weber Tuesday, then Starch Madness. You guys will be playing Sunday, whether it's a 1 or 2 seed. Yeah. Anything you want to close on?
I think I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, because there's just been a lot of conversations about this Player of the Year, but I'm not.
Okay, all you don't have to say it. You are the Player of the Year. I'll say it for you.
It's Player of the Year's win, man. That's all I'm gonna say. They do anything it takes to win. Anybody can have 30 on a losing team. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I mean, tune in to Boise. The Bears are coming in hot. We're gonna, bring our best game. Hope everybody else does too. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. As always, like, subscribe, comment. Tell your mom to like, subscribe, and comment as well. But Langston, thank you so much for joining us. Joining me. This was so much fun. Would love to do it again, maybe sometime after the season if you're down. But appreciate you, man. Good luck.
Bro, appreciate you. Thank you for having me.